It's crazy to think back to the 2008 Grammys
Oh, yeah.
when Amy Winehouse just, completely swept the awards.
5 awards.
5 awards.
Yeah.
It was just like this moment, like solidified her as this icon
Definitely.
in music history.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
not even 3 days later,
Oh, gosh.
she relapsed.
Yeah.
And it was just this reminder of, I think for a lot of people, this fragility
Right.
behind the fame.
Mm.
And so today we're going to do a deep dive
Yeah.
into the life and career of Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
And we're using this amazing podcast episode
Yes.
with Eves Lindley,
She's great.
who's an actress
Yeah.
and just considers herself
A true Amy enthusiast.
a true Amy enthusiast.
Yes. I think what's so fascinating about Amy's story is it's not just the music, her life, just all these complexities and contradictions. I think that's what makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
Because it really is a story of an era.
Yeah.
The early 2000s, and when all of a sudden everything kind of changed between public image and personal struggles.
And even today, her music still resonates with so many people.
Absolutely.
I remember hearing Rehab for the first time and just being like,
Oh, my God.
what is this?
It's so raw.
It's so raw and honest.
Yeah.
It felt like she was singing directly to me.
Yeah.
Sharing these really, really deep and personal thoughts and feelings.
And I think that's really what it was. She was, even as a teenager, you could just tell she had this insane talent.
Oh, yeah.
There's this video of her 14th birthday party, and she's singing Happy Birthday.
Oh, wow.
But you just see it. Everyone in the room is captivated.
Oh, wow.
They're mesmerized by her. She had this stage presence, this raw emotion. And it was at 14.
She was dubbed Hurricane Amy.
Yes.
She was just this force of nature, full of talent. But, with that obviously comes, maybe a little bit of mischief.
Right.
And we also learned from Eve Lindley's podcast that Amy struggled with bulimia.
Oh, God.
From a young age.
Yeah.
Which is a battle that unfortunately she fought throughout her life.
Right. And, it's that kind of thing where it's okay, this is behind the scenes of this larger than life persona.
Right.
There's this other thing going on.
This private struggle.
Yeah, that we don't see.
Yeah. And bulimia, especially back then, was not something that was talked about a lot or that people even understood very well.
And probably didn't help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It probably just added to the whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about, the importance of being open about mental health and making sure that young people have the support
Definitely.
that they need. But despite all of this, Amy's love for music never really wavered.
No, never.
She immersed herself in the London music scene, singing with all these different bands.
Yeah.
Really developing that signature style of hers.
It was exploration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pure creative exploration.
Pure creative exploration.
Huh.
And, obviously her talent did not go unnoticed.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is where we see this huge bidding war erupts over her.
Oh, yeah.
With all these major labels like Island Records. They're all trying to sign this raw, authentic talent.
I think what's so interesting too is how much they were drawn to that.
Yes.
That realness. And that soulful voice.
Yes.
That just did not need
any enhancements
at all.
Right.
And that authenticity really shines through in her debut album, Frank.
Yeah. A masterpiece.
A masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's this beautiful blend of jazz, soul, R&B influences.
You can feel it.
You can feel the passion.
Oh, yeah.
And the rawness in every single track. And there's even that story about her having a total meltdown.
Oh, my gosh.
When she discovered that they had added synthetic strings.
To one of her songs.
To one of her songs.
Yeah.
Talk about commitment to your
her vision.
Artistic vision.
Yes. That's what I think makes Amy so fascinating, because she was a rebel.
Right.
In this, music industry that was so obsessed with these manufactured pop stars.
Right.
And she was really channeling that raw vulnerability of those classic 60s girl groups, the Ronettes, the Shangri-Las, who were really pouring their hearts into their music.
Yeah.
And that's what she was doing.
Yeah.
It
was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
This return to genuine emotion.
Yeah.
And storytelling.
Real storytelling.
And Frank did resonate with audiences.
Yes, it did.
It got critical acclaim. Awards.
Yeah.
She was placed firmly on the map as this rising star.
Definitely.
But as her career was taking off, her personal life took a little bit of a dramatic turn.
It did.
With the entrance of Blake Fielder Civil.
Yes.
And their relationship, as described in Eve Lindley's podcast, was just this whirlwind of passion and turmoil.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just fuel for the paparazzi that Amy was clearly not comfortable with.
No.
Yeah.
And it was this constant source of drama splashed across all the tabloids.
Absolutely.
It was just up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And I think you can't help but wonder how this emotional roller coaster really influenced her music.
For sure.
Because it led to this iconic album, Back to Black.
Yes.
Which is just this masterpiece born out of heartbreak and longing.
It is.
And it's crazy to think that some of like the most iconic tracks like Rehab and Back to Black were written in a matter of days.
I know, it's wild.
It's like the emotions just poured out of her onto the page.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
It's really remarkable.
It's crazy how she could just like channel that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's incredible.
And I think that Back to Black also raises this interesting question about, Rehab.
Yeah.
In particular, became this like global anthem.
Right.
Turning this like really personal struggle into this huge commercial hit.
Yeah, it makes you think about the emotions she must have been going through. As her vulnerability was on display for the whole world.
Sort of everyone.
Like literally the entire world.
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword of fame, where it's like you get this amazing platform.
Yeah.
But then it can be so intrusive.
Like overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that tension between Amy's desire for privacy and the public's just need to know everything about her.
Their appetite for her story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a recurring theme throughout her story.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it becomes even more pronounced as her relationship with Blake just spirals.
Right.
It's public fights, visible injuries, drug use. It's just like fame and fortune just magnifies those struggles.
It's almost like the world wanted to consume her talent and her vulnerability.
Right.
Without any regard for
the human cost.
The human cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's heartbreaking to see how this played out.
It is.
Especially with the media's pursuit.
Relentless pursuit.
Of her every misstep. There's this really sad moment described in the podcast where she says she would wake up drinking and crying, listening to the Shangri-Las.
Wow.
And it's such a powerful image.
It is.
That just shows just how much emotional turmoil she was in.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how she connects with the Shangri-Las because they're known for these like, ballads about love and loss. It shows how deeply she understood music and where she drew inspiration from.
And amidst this personal turmoil, she achieves what many would consider like the top.
The pinnacle.
The pinnacle of a musical career.
Yes.
The 2008 Grammys, 6 nominations.
Wins 5.
Wins 5.
It's insane.
Tying the record for most wins.
By a female artist.
By a female artist in a single night.
In one night.
It's incredible.
It should have been pure triumph.
You would think.
But you watch the footage. And it's like there's this disconnect. There's this like look of shocked disbelief and this like palpable sadness. And she even dedicates one of the awards to Blake, who's incarcerated at the time.
Right.
So it's just like that complexity.
Their relationship is just so evident.
Yeah.
And then tragically, just 3 days later,
oh my God,
she relapses.
Yeah.
And it's just this like stark reminder
of the power of addiction.
The power of addiction. Yeah. And it makes you think about
the support system.
Her support system.
What was going on?
What was going on?
Were
they really there for her?
Right, because you hear about these interventions, staged by family and friends, but then they're followed by leaks to the press.
Right.
So it's like, are you really trying to help her, or are you just trying to capitalize on this?
Yeah, it's disturbing.
It's really troubling.
And there's even this account of her father discouraging her from going to rehab.
Early on,
saying like, no, you need to focus on your music. I know.
That's hard to hear.
It's really difficult to reconcile that.
Yeah.
With like genuine concern for her well-being.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder what was going through his head at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as her struggles continued, the media scrutiny just intensified.
Oh, yeah.
It shifted from celebrating her music
to like dissecting her every move.
Yeah, it's like they were just waiting for her
to mess up.
Yeah. Yeah, and we see this disturbing footage of her performing under the influence.
Oh, it's so sad.
And her physical deterioration just becomes fodder for these cruel jokes.
Yeah.
And tabloid headlines.
It's awful.
And it's just this like really sad example of how dehumanizing fame can be.
Yeah. Especially back then.
Yeah.
Before social media. where people had a little bit more control over their narrative.
Yeah, it was like she was just a caricature.
Totally.
A punchline.
Yeah.
Rather than a human.
Right, real person.
Yeah, grappling with real demons.
Yeah.
But there were these glimpses of hope.
There were.
And her trip to St. Lucia seems to have been like a turning point for her.
It was like she rediscovered peace and joy.
Yeah.
Away from everything, all the pressure, the toxicity.
Yeah, there are photos of her laughing on the beach.
Yeah.
Like enjoying time with people she loves.
She just looks healthy and happy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's like...
It's amazing.
She just looks like a completely different person.
It shows her resilience.
Yeah.
Her desire to, reclaim her life.
And she takes these, big steps.
Yeah.
She divorces Blake while he's incarcerated.
Yeah.
She launches her own record label.
Linus Records.
Linus Records, yeah.
Yeah, critical.
Showing how much she really wanted to support.
Other artists.
Yeah. And she starts taking steps to improve her health.
Yeah.
Cutting back on alcohol.
Yeah.
Embracing a healthier lifestyle. It really felt like a comeback was on the horizon.
It did. There was this, sense of optimism surrounding her.
Yeah.
She was even working on new music with Tony Bennett.
No.
Someone she idolized since she was a child.
Yeah, it's like, but...
The pressure to return to touring.
Right.
To perform that material from Back to Black.
Yeah.
It just proved to be too much.
And that disastrous performance in Belgrade.
Oh, gosh.
It really showed the struggle she was facing.
It did.
She was clearly intoxicated.
Yeah.
Unable to connect with the music. And you could just feel the audience's disappointment.
Yeah.
It was just heartbreaking.
It was.
And it led to her canceling the rest of the tour.
Right.
But even in the face of this setback, she has this moment of self-awareness.
Oh, yeah.
She's watching a video of herself performing. And she says, I was really good. I could really sing. I have a great voice.
Wow.
And it's like she's acknowledging her talent.
Yeah.
And maybe even longing for a simpler time.
Yeah.
Before the weight of fame became too much to bear.
Before it all.
Yeah. And it's just this really poignant glimpse into her inner world.
It is.
A reminder that beneath the persona that the media had created was this woman who loved music.
Yeah.
And possessed an incredible gift.
And who knew it?
Deep
down.
Yeah. But tragically, this moment of clarity is followed by this rapid decline.
Yeah. In the final days before her death, it's this mix of really sweet moments.
Yeah.
And, those troubling signs.
Right.
Like she has this really genuine conversation with a friend from childhood.
Oh.
Expressing regret, promising to reconnect.
Yeah.
And then there's even this video of her doing this impromptu performance with her goddaughter.
That's sweet.
Really tender. But also she's drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Still clearly struggling.
Right.
And then on July 23, 2011, at just 27 years old, Amy Winehouse is found dead in her home in London.
It's so sad.
Alcohol poisoning is the official cause.
Right.
The toxicology report shows that she had a blood alcohol level way above the legal limit. But her brother actually revealed later that, her bulimia probably played a role too. It likely left her body weak.
Yeah.
And much more susceptible to those effects of the alcohol.
And it's just another layer to her story.
It is.
That just emphasizes how interconnected our struggles really are.
Our physical and mental health.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to just focus on one thing.
Right.
But her story shows how they can be intertwined.
And how they can escalate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And her death, I think, really sparked a conversation about the responsibility we have to support people who are going through these things.
Struggling with addiction and mental health issues.
Yeah. And it wasn't just about Amy.
No.
It was about recognizing the systemic issues that contribute to these tragedies.
Absolutely.
And for so many people, it felt like a wake-up call.
It did.
This moment of collective grief and reflection.
Yeah.
It was like, we could have done more.
Yeah, we failed her.
Yeah. And it's encouraging to see how that awareness has translated into action.
Definitely.
The Amy Winehouse Foundation.
Yes.
Launched on what would have been her 28th birthday.
It's amazing how her legacy is inspiring this positive change.
Yeah.
The foundation is dedicated to helping young people struggling with addiction and mental health.
Yeah, providing support and resources.
Prevent these tragedies from happening again.
Yeah, and it's this really fitting tribute to Amy.
It is.
Who, despite her own struggles, really had this deep compassion.
For others.
For other people.
It's about breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
Giving the support that she didn't necessarily have.
Right.
And it's not just the foundation.
Yeah.
Her music continues to inspire
so many artists.
Countless artists. Think about Adele, Lady Gaga.
Yeah, they've all talked about
how Amy influenced them.
Yeah.
There's this beautiful quote from Ronnie Spector, the lead singer of the Ronettes.
Yeah.
A group that Amy loved.
Yeah, she loved them.
She said, "Amy Winehouse gave me a wonderful gift. She made me feel that what I did mattered."
Wow.
And it really speaks to the power of her legacy.
Yeah, and the way her music touched so many lives.
It's amazing to think someone who struggled so much could have such a profound impact on others.
And that's what we hope you take away from this deep dive.
Yeah.
Amy Winehouse's story is a tragedy.
It is.
But it's also a reminder of the power of music.
Definitely.
The importance of vulnerability.
Yes.
And the need for compassion and understanding.
We encourage you to go back and listen to her music, not just as a playlist, but as a way to connect with this complex, brilliant woman behind those lyrics.
And to think about how we can better support those who are struggling.
Yes. What steps can we take to create a world where talent is nurtured, vulnerability is met with compassion, and stories like Amy's don't end in tragedy?
That's a question worth thinking about.
Definitely.
As we remember her legacy.